Hi, my name is Natalie Turcotte and I'm in grade 10. I began experimenting with photography a few years ago just before I entered high school. I started off just as you might imagine, capturing memories and documenting my surroundings and experiences. I always found photographs fascinating. A camera has the ability to freeze a moment in time indefinitely, which is a violation of the process of passing time. My photos started off meaningless and simply documentary. It was only when I came to ESA where I began to develop conceptual depth behind my photographs. Now I think of a concept beforehand and set up a shoot based on what I'm trying to say within a series. All of the work I create has to do with myself, whether that is my own personal experience with a subject or something that affects me secondhand. A constant variable in my work is my identity within society, and the impact that society has on molding someone's life and identity. No matter the series, I can relate all of my work both to the world and to myself. This is the reason that I usually choose people I know or am friends with to model for my shoots, because I feel like in order for someone else's body to express something about myself, that model has to know me to be able to represent me. So what I've learned to do with my photography is to visually construct a specific moment of importance to myself and then capture it to let it live on forever. Having always created work that relates to myself, I decided to dive deeper into this by exploring my family heritage, and now with a three-dimensional medium. The amazing thing about an artwork is that it can be considered a life which is constantly living. Since it's usually a physical object with no determined lifespan, that means that it can never die. I decided to explore this concept more with a recent piece I did, straying from photography for this specific project. What I discovered how to do was not only how to create a life using an artwork, but I created a piece that I believe to have a conscience, as it has a greater knowledge of itself than I could ever hold. That sounds a bit crazy, so I will explain. This symbol means motion and change. A life is made up of motion and change. So if I create a patterned sequence using the symbol, I'm technically coding a life. I did this by sewing my grandmother's string into a canvas with this pattern that I've created, which can then be decrypted as the coding of a life, my grandmother's life specifically. In a way, this piece knows more than I know and possibly even more than she knows about herself. This is showing life in a non-living form, essentially dehumanization. I would call this piece subliminal artwork, which is what I'd like to start creating more of. Subliminal means below the threshold of conscious thought. For example, worrying is subliminal. You would never know that you are being controlled. A subliminal message is one that is designed to pass below the normal limits of perception, inaudible to the conscious mind, yet audible to the unconscious, deeper mind. My accessing of this part of someone's mind is what I'm calling subliminal art. I'm doing this by creating an artwork with a conscience, which arguably doesn't mean it has to be biologically alive. It can then emit subliminal messages to the deeper conscience of the viewer without my knowing or their knowing, because this transmission would be below the threshold of conscious thought. We could never knowingly perceive a message like this, even if we were looking for it. So maybe messages will continue to be sent from unconscious mind to unconscious mind without our knowing anything about it, or maybe one day, using my artwork, I will be able to understand subliminal transmissions with a conscious mind. Thank you.